The Joe Rogan Experience.
You were like the only thing that could top this. For those who didn't see it, it's such a brilliant idea. It was the eggnog drinking contest, and you had to do a double shot like it was bourbon, but it was eggnog, like every 30 seconds.
Well,
and the returning champion was Pat from Moonachie, who had diabetes and lost a toe to it already. It was just sitting there. And then he continued to drink it.
Oh, yeah.
To do the bit that you came up with. I mean, there has to be like a... you know when like a broadcaster can get into the Sports Hall of Fame just because, you know, he never played the game, but he like, you know, because of what he added to it. I always thought that Pat Moonachie should have been like, they should have been like a Chick Hearn, Johnny Most sort of award that he fucking, with his health, continued to drink. I remember when people posted that video, everyone was saying, fake, this isn't real. And that made me enjoy it real. I was like, no, that was real. And I was there.
There was plastic bags all over the ground. Remember, they put plastic everywhere, all over the ground, because they knew that people were going to throw up. They had the garbage can ready. And then Pat Duffy leans his head over the edge of the garbage can. And then Pat from Moonachie just, here comes... You see him, and then it keeps coming. It keeps coming. It's like way crazier than Stand By Me. It was like a hydrant.
You just went, weak, and it just fucking came out, and then somebody kept shutting it off. And every time, I mean, it was like a...
There it is.
There it is. I can't watch this.
You can't watch this?
You know, I still can't tell the story. If I tell it in detail, I start gagging.
Oh, see, Fear Factor killed all that in me. I never...
Dude, I'll tell the one that makes me gag. I start to gag, is when... There was the dude. I can't fucking watch it.
It was tremendous.
Do you? I'll say it real quick just to plow through it.
You're tearing up.
There was a dude who got knocked out. So then what he did was he puked into a pitcher. He puked into a pitcher, and then he was drinking his own puke, trying to make the other people puke. So then somebody dared this guy who had to take a swig from it, and he had like this hipster Viking level beard, and he... I can't do it.
You're going to throw up.
I can't do it. This is like fucking 10 years later. He took this Viking level swig. He just threw it back. So he gave himself like kind of like a facial with it, and then he puked into the pitcher, I think. And I remember it was in his beard. There's a point in that podcast, in that show where I almost puke.
Yeah. That's a crazy thing about seeing so many people puke.
Oh, Bill's going to go. And I was like hanging on to the fucking table.
Yeah, we didn't realize that at the time. But those are some of the greatest moments of our life.
In my family, we've got some Ashkenazi bad genes. We tend to die young. And my grandmother died. My grandmother's actually only 15 years older than my dad, and she died a few years ago. Last 10 years of her life, horrible. So we know what's going to happen in my family, probably, to all of us. If we don't do something.
So your grandmother had your father when she was 15 years old?
Right.
Whoa.
Yeah. Back in the early days of World War II, she apparently was playing around with her boyfriend. She claims to be a virgin at that point, but something got somewhere that shouldn't have. And so he was during high school. Right. So I was raised by my grandmother. She was in her 40s when I was a kid, and she was the one that taught me to always stay young, keep your, adults ruin everything. That's probably why I work on aging.
Adults ruin everything. What was her advice, like in terms of like how do you avoid what adults are doing wrong?
Well, she'd grown up during the Depression and then World War II, and then the communists came into Hungary and raped a lot of people. She had no had no respect for humanity. So by the time I came along, first of all, she put all of her energy into me, and I was a spoilt brat as a kid, so that wasn't helpful to me. I think now as an adult, but more importantly, she wanted me to do the best I could with my life. She said, "David, do what you can to make this world a better place. Make sure that you leave this place better than you found it," and that's what I'm trying to do.
Wow, what a profound piece of advice for a grandchild.
She was a rebel. She taught me, forget the rules, all right? Kind of like you do. I'm going my own way, and we'll see how this goes. So she went to Australia. She said, fuck Europe, I'm out of here. She went to Australia, the furthest place she could find from Europe, never went back. She went on Bondi Beach in Sydney in a bikini, which was rebellious. And she got taken off the beach by the police.
What'd you have to wear back then?
Oh, the full little British thing.
Down
Down to your knees.
down to your knees?
I think so.
What did they look like?
Maybe it was a one piece, but
You weren't allowed to show your belly.
That's what I think. But she was a rebel. She went to New Guinea by herself in the 60s.
What year was this where she was wearing a bikini?
That would be 56.
You couldn't wear a bikini in the 50s? Wow. Wow. Okay, like those pinup girls, right? When you see them, they always had one-piece suits on. Yeah.
So imagine New Guinea in the 60s as a woman on her own, up in the highlands. She claims to have eaten human flesh, and I'm sure she spent most of the time drunk as well.
Now, you pay attention to like Boston Dynamics and all these different robotic creations that they've made.
Well, they seem to have a penchant for doing really sinister-looking bots.
I think all robots that are, anything that looks autonomous is kind of sinister looking. If it
Well,
can do
I mean, you see the
backflips.
like the Japanese have these like big-eyed, sort of rounded, so it's a different
They're
vibe.
trying to trick us.
Boston Dynamics is, I guess, they
Yes.
want the Pentagon to give them funding or something.
Right, DARPA. Yeah, they look like they're developing Terminators.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what I was thinking is, if we do eventually come to a time where those things are going to war for us instead of us, like if we get involved in robot wars, our robots versus their robots, and this becomes the next motivation for increased technological innovation to try to deal with superior robots by the Soviet Union or by China. Like these are more things that could be threats that could push people to some crazy level of technological innovation.
Yeah, it could. I mean, I think there are other drivers for technological innovation as well that seem so plenty strong.
Sure.
Commercial drivers, let us say, that we wouldn't have to rely on war or the threat of war to kind of stay innovative. And I mean, there has been this effort to try to see if it would be possible to have some kind of ban on lethal autonomous weapons. Just as I mean, there are a few technologies that we have. Like has been a relatively successful ban on chemical and biological weapons, which has by and large been honored and upheld. There are kind of treaties on nuclear weapons, which has limited proliferation. Yes, there are now maybe, I don't know, a dozen, I don't know the exact number, but it's certainly a lot better than 50 or 100 countries.
Yes.
And some other weapons as well, blinding lasers, landmines, cluster munitions. And so some people think maybe we could do something like this with lethal autonomous weapons, killer bots. Is that really what humanity needs most now? Like another arms race to develop like killer bots? It seems arguably the answer to that is no. But I've kind of, as a lot of my friends are supporting, I kind of stood a little bit on the sidelines on that particular campaign, being a little unsure exactly what it is that. I mean, certainly I think it'd be better if we refrained from having some arms race to develop these than not.
And I've had 4 sightings myself, quite vivid. The first one was in Martha's Vineyard. It was 4 a.m. I got up to take a leak on the balcony there, and I looked up in the sky, and about 100,000 feet up, I saw 2 glowing discs flying in echelon formation.
You saw this?
I saw this.
How old were you?
I was in my 30s, yeah. And so I look up and I see these things, and they're moving, man. They're going from horizon to horizon, 20,000 miles an hour. And I've been in an F-5. I've had it in my hands. I've been in a B-25. I know helicopters. I know aviation. I know meteoric bolides. I know what's not a meteor and what is. I know what's a helicopter and what is. I know what's the moon and Venus. 2 glowing round objects, 100,000 feet, maybe 20,000 miles an hour they're doing, because they went across the sky like just in a zigzag formation. So if I screamed to my wife, my friends, they got out, the 3 of us saw it, and I said, and they all knew it was something unusual. That was my first sighting. Okay, now who knows? Okay, meteoric bolide. There are many people that can dispute that wasn't real. But I know what I saw. I know what my friends saw. I know what my wife saw. Those things were moving. They were glowing fast. They were flying in formation. And they were doing enough speed to get from basically the right side of my eyes to the left side of my eyes really fast. The second one was I was in so that's four. I count those two as two. And then the second one that I saw, so the third one I saw, I was in Montreal, Canada. And I was on the 23rd floor of the Queen Elizabeth Hotel, and this would have been when we were doing Patron in Canada, the Patron tequila promotion, and would have been in the early 2000s. And I looked up and beyond the window there, and I saw this. Well, it just looked like an air mattress turned over on its, with the bubbles on the bottom. It was huge. It was 150 feet long, 50 feet wide, gray. It was a gray, rainy day in Montreal, broad daylight. And here was this thing at the 23rd story of the hotel. And I'm looking at it, and it moves slowly down St. Catherine Street. And I'm thinking, where are the wires? Where are the wires? Where? It's got to be a balloon. It's got to be. There's no Thanksgiving Day parade here. What is that? And my friends are with me. What is that? And it come along, and it just parked outside the window. We looked at it, big gray thing with these bulbs underneath, and then it slowly turned, and we saw the full length of it, and then it went around the corner. We ran out in the hall, and we just watched it drift kind of sideways off over the St. Lawrence River and disappear.